So before we start, let's do a warm-up and remind ourselves how we can do a binomial approximation using a normal curve. So a company produces boxes of chocolates. The number of pieces in each box is assumed distributed with a mean of 48 pieces and a standard deviation of 4.3 pieces. Quality control will reject any box with fewer than 44 pieces. Boxes with 55 or more pieces will result in excess costs to the company. So what is the probability that a box selected at random will have exactly 50 pieces of chocolate? So we are looking for that slice on our normal curve that is between 49.5, and 50.5. And we don't have to do much in the way of calculating because we were given that the average is 48, the standard deviation is 4.3, so we can find the x value for each of these. And now we can find our z values, and from that we can find our probabilities. So therefore, we have a probability of about 8.22% that a box selected at random will have exactly 50 pieces of chocolate. So notice I did not check the expected values because I wasn't given P and I wasn't given Q. But what we do know is that we are going to be doing the approximation for this because it would be, it's going to have 50 pieces of chocolate or not. And the assumption is that because I'm looking at a day's production, I'm going to have more than 5 boxes as my expected value. So second part to this problem, each filling machine produces 130,000 boxes per shift. How many of these boxes will lie within the acceptable range, and what conclusions can be drawn if you are the manager? So remember that the acceptable range is between 44, because if it has fewer than 44 pieces, it's going to be rejected. And if it has more than 55, it's costing the company too much money, and so they're not going to be happy about that either. So we're looking for an acceptable range between 44 and 55. So not less than 44, not more than 55. So in order to figure this out, we need to look at the probability of it falling between 44 and 55. And because this is a binomial approximation, we are going to look at the distance between 44.5 and 54.5 because we have to be just inside of those lines to get the area under the curve that we want. So now we can get the z values for those probabilities. So by using our binomial approximation, we get that there's a 72.5% chance that there will be between 44 and 55 chocolates per box. So on to our new stuff. So that used population data, right? We were given population data in our last example, and we just said, okay, let's use our binomial approximation to figure out the possibility of getting within our range that we want. So what we could do, though, is now take samples of the actual data and have actual sample data. So when we take repeated samples, and this is done in factories all the time, and they use this kind of math all the time, and we take repeated samples from a normally distributed set of data. The mean of the samples will be the sample mean of the population after enough repetitions. So this is that confidence interval. Okay, so the standard deviation of samples will be slightly different because of variability of the data. Just like when we take the standard deviation of a sample, we make sure that we use n minus 1 because the standard deviation tends to get overestimated in samples versus the population. So we now have, so the average, this is saying here that the average of the population with enough repetitions of sampling will become the average of the samples, which is like saying theoretical probability and experimental probability. With enough experiments, your experimental probability will get closer and closer to your theoretical probability. Same idea here with the mean of your samples versus the mean of your population. Now, the standard deviation of your samples, remember, so we're going to take the standard deviation of the population and divide it by the square root of n. Okay, so that's going to give us that, and this is now known as the standard error or standard error of means. Let's put this into practice. So the tires on a rental car fleet have lifetimes that are normally distributed with a mean of 64,000 kilometers and a standard deviation of 4,800 kilometers. Every week, a mechanic checks the tires on 10 randomly selected cars. So right away, let's think about what our N is. So we have 10 cars, but don't forget there's 4 tires on every car. So that means that our N for the sample is 40. So first we're going to get our mean and standard deviation of our samples. And based on what theory that we've said, that if we were going to do enough repeated sampling, this average of our samples is going to be the same as the average of our population. So we are going to use the population average as our sample average. So the standard deviation of our sample we get from the population standard deviation, and we divide it by the square root of the number in our sample. So in this case, we've gone from a standard deviation of 4,800 for the population to a sample standard deviation of 758.95 kilometers. So how likely is it that the mechanic will find a sample mean of 62,500 or less? So we're going to say, what's the probability that X is less than 62,500? So we're going to use our Z-score for that. And so our X is going to be the 62,500 minus our mean, which is 64,000. And because this is a sample, now we're looking at our sample standard deviation of 758.95. So going to the Z tables, the probability on the Z table for less than 1.98 is 0.0239, or we have a probability of about 2.4% that the average of the sample will have a mean of less than 62,500. So now let's talk about confidence intervals. So remember we said that a 95% confidence interval means that if a sample were repeated, that 19 times out of 20, the attribute being measured will fall within a given interval. So we're going to use howler monkeys. I saw those when I was in Costa Rica. They're very fun. A sample of 50 adult male howler monkeys showed the average weight is 8.5 kilograms with a standard deviation of 1.3 kilograms. So a 95% confidence interval might be 8.5 plus or minus 1.75, which would mean that 19 times out of 20, or 95% of the time, if another 50 monkeys were sampled, the mean weight would fall within 6.75 kilograms and 10.25 kilograms. So that is how we would read a confidence interval. So here are confidence intervals as pictures, right? So a 90% confidence interval is, do we remember, about 2 standard deviations away. It's actually a little less than 2 standard deviations because 2 standard deviations gave us 95% of the data. So a 90% confidence interval means that we have half of each of the rest of the data on either side. So we've got 0.5% below, 0.5% above, or 5% above, 5%, not 0.5%, sorry, 5% above, 5% below. And so that means that we are covering 90% of what should be under the normal curve. Now a 95% confidence interval, same thing. So now we have 2 standard deviations away from the mean, which means that we've got only 2.5% of the population, if you will, on either side that is not being accounted for. So those are your extremes. And they're your extremes, and they would potentially be outliers, right? So they would be the things that if you had a statistically high proportion of really upper limit, so think really tall people, then you're going to skew your data away from what a population norm would be. So because we have our percentages on our Z tables, we know that a confidence level of 90% is going to give me a Z score of 1.645. A confidence level of 95% is going to give me a Z score of 1.96. And a 99% confidence level is going to be 2.576. Remember, this is standard deviations away from the equation that we use is, here we've got our population mean, and then you've got, that is representing your lower and your upper confidence levels. In that equation, of course, X bar is the mean of the sample. Should be a bar over that one. Z is the Z score. Sigma is your standard deviation for the population. So remember, we don't necessarily have our standard deviation for the sample. We're going to use it to square root the sample size. That's going to give us now our sample standard deviation. And mu is the mean of the population. So we're going to take the average of our sample. We're going to subtract our Z score times the standard deviation of the population divided by the square root of the number in our sample. And that's going to be our lower limit is less than our average is less than our upper limit, which takes the sample mean, and we add the Z score times the standard deviation of the population divided by the square root of the number in our sample. And remember that back at the beginning of this lesson, we said that the standard deviation of the population divided by the square root of the number in the sample gives us what's called our standard error. So what the heck does all that mean? Let's put it into practice. At the last fall fair, the masses of 8 large pumpkins were measured. The mean of the masses last year was 13.6 kilograms. The standard deviation of the population is estimated to be 2.5 kilograms. Yet we will not cover how to estimate this in the course. We're just going, you'll be given it. So what is a 90% confidence interval for the sample mean? So remember that the Z score for 90% confidence interval is 1.645. We just had that on the last page. So we're going to get, this is just, like I said, the math in this course is not hard. So we're going to take our sample average, and then we're going to subtract the Z score multiplied by the standard deviation divided by the square root of the sample size. And that gives us our lower confidence interval, and then our upper confidence interval is the average plus the Z score times the standard deviation divided by the square root of the sample size. So you can see that our confidence interval range is that our pumpkins will be between 12.1 kilograms and 15.1 kilograms with a 90% confidence interval. So what does that mean? 90% of the time, or 9 times out of 10, that our range is going to be between 12.1 kilograms and 15.1 kilograms. And we are at the end of this lesson, so it is your time to practice. Please feel free to come back and revisit any of the examples